Hello everyone, Master Xeon1001 here, and in this video I want to show some of the improvements that have been made to HardOps version 0.0.4.8. Not so alpha-ish now. In fact, I'd call it beta, but we'll leave it as alpha. So I'll start off by taking this cube and just scaling it, and put some cylinders on here. As y'all know, I'm a big fan of the bool tool, so part of the goal of HardOps was to expand a little bit on the idea of the bool tool. So we got our shape here, and I'll put a cube on top of that and bool it out, bring another one down, bool that out. Now to apply it and everything, I can just go in here and hit C sharpen, and that'll do it all. Just one button, apply to scale, and just hide all of that. And you see that it applied all the Boolean modifiers and added a bevel in addition to calculating these sharps. So we'll just do a little bit more boolean here, and we'll C sharpen that as well. Now there's also a button here for adjusting the bevel now. You can do it in the viewport, which I thought was quite handy. Now the main difference between C sharpen and S sharpen is that S sharpen doesn't add the bevel modifier, but it does calculate the sharp edges and marks them as so, based off of a particular angle, just like the idea that was originally mentioned in the first video about this. So for those that are waiting for the beta version, this is it. It's probably not going to get much more expanding beyond this. However, there are still a lot of things that I want to do with it. I want to create like this interactive array modifier, or not so much a modifier, but an interactive array that allows you to have more control in the viewport. I'll apply to scale there, and we'll just bring a cylinder over here and scale it. Now a lot of work has went into kind of foolproofing the tool. Sent it to a person to test, and they immediately did something I did not expect someone to do with the tool. However, that was before they read the documentation. So S sharpen will basically calculate the sharps, mark the sharps, in addition to smoothing the mesh and setting the auto smooth. C sharpen will take what you did with the S sharpen, apply to scale, and also put a bevel on top of it. So C sharpen is my general go-to. In fact, we'll mirror this to the other side. Voila. So that's all set, and I might add an edge loop here, and we'll just set it here and C sharpen as well, just to help them all connect a little bit better. Maybe do the same at the bottom. C sharpen. And that all is fine and dandy. Now, one of the things you may have noticed is that it applied the actual original mirror. That part has also been fixed. So if you go in and run C sharpen, the first thing you'll notice is it applies the mirrors, but under the F6 menu, you now see that C sharpen has a very awesome and very large menu. We'll just click mirror. So now, no matter what you do, the S sharpen will no longer apply mirror modifiers or the bevel. The bevel is automatically selected by default because, well, you never want to apply the bevel. Just don't. I mean, you can, I guess, but really, if you run it a second time after the bevel's been applied, it'll definitely give you undesirable results. So another feature is quick X, which will just mirror the object over to the other side of the X-axis. Since I'm left-handed, it always is going from this side to this side, which is no big deal. However, it's just something to keep in mind. However, I do plan to expand that and also add the ability to work with the Y. However, these features are basically added as I need them. So a lot of things that just don't make any sense for my workflow. Like, I'm not trying to basically automate it. I'm just trying to make things that I do repetitiously all the time, every time, not something I have to do so often. So even though this has been C-sharpened, I can run S-sharpen as I make mesh modeling changes to basically update it with the additional sharpness information. So continuing on, we'll just put a cube here. I'll turn off vertex snapping and snap it there. And we'll move it up and then come back down, make sure it's level. We'll take this part, just bring it up to the top and run C-sharpen just to you know, add a nice little bevel to it. You can definitely see the advantages of it. Another thing as well is, this is probably my favorite thing to do with this particular tool, is I will bool pieces out and then use those to create cut lines. So we put this piece here and we'll take this mirrored across and Control minus. We'll duplicate it and then just set this to intersect. That'll also be a button in the future. And we'll just run C-sharpen on both of them. And now we have perfect cut lines. Apply to scale and it looks a lot better. So applying the scale was something initially I had to do automatically, but there were a few complaints about it, so there's also a button for that that's already built into Blender. You know, apply scale with Control A. So you know, we'll just scale this stuff over, and there we go. So you know, in a nutshell, that is what you can expect with this particular tool. Now with S-sharpen, there's also an F6 panel where you can choose the S-sharp angle and the smoothing angle. Usually I have the smoothing angle set to 60 and the S-sharp set to 30. And in addition to that, let me show you the don't resharpen button that has been added to S-sharpen. This is one of my favorite features. It used to be part of an operator called resharpen. However, because people would hit that first thing, I simply removed it and made it a behavioral change. So we'll S-sharpen, and let's say that we want to basically round this bevel. We'll just bring these over and quick mirror. Now you may notice that under edge mode that this edge here is probably undesired. So if we run S-sharpen, it'll correct it. However, under the F6 menu, there's an option for don't recalculate, which will make it not recalculate your edges, thus keeping it, you know, more accurate. So, you know, the bevel modifier has some very specific behavior that's worth noting. However, that's a topic for another video. So we will go ahead and turn off the don't recalculate, so that way we can manually mark these edges that we don't want, and we see that it looks better with it actually specified. Now, to talk a little bit about understanding the bevel, I can tell you from experience that, you know, sometimes dissolving, which I'm just using Shift X to do in this case, will get it to behave a little bit better. However, sometimes guidance lines are needed in order to keep everything operating properly. So I'll just cut some in with the knife, and you see that it still looks rather bad. So this is usually where I'll go in and troubleshoot a little bit, and now it looks a little bit better. We adjust the bevel to be something more lenient, and voila. So now running C-sharp will create an undesired result. We'll set the C-sharp angle to be half of that, and maybe turn off edge slide, and voila. So we also want to mirror it to the other side so it doesn't look strange. In fact, for some reason there's a strange line in there. We'll remove this, remirror it, it's fixed. So on to other features. So y'all may remember in the first version I was showcasing the circle, insert circles In fact, I'll select the edge, invert it, and we'll go under circle setup, which will turn every vert into a circle. There's now subdivision options where you can choose how many subdivisions each circle gets. However, by default, it gives you a pretty round circle. Same with face knurling. Face knurling also has an option to be subdivided to make more knurls or less. However, in this case, we're going to go with encircle, which now, whenever you run encircle, it will put you in a setup mode where you can set up the scale, get it the way that you want, scale it inwards, and just running S sharpen on it will update that information, allowing that to be sharpened properly. So this is something that I was definitely quite happy with whenever it was first added. We'll scale that in. Voila. So to demonstrate it again, the part where I was creating cut lines, we'll take this piece up here, put a loop cut, Control B, bevel it. I should probably just turn on screencast keys so I don't have to narrate the hotkeys I'm pressing. However, if you're familiar with my workflow, you definitely get the idea behind it. However, it is definitely something that is intended for hard surface modeling. So I'll flip this over to intersect, C sharpen, C sharpen, and now we have a clean separation in these surfaces, which is just amazing for me. Like when I first discovered this, I was quite happy. Now, when I Control B beveled, it offset this edge and this edge, which are both marked S sharp. And if we take a good look at it, it creates a little bit of unnecessary banding that we don't want because it's beveling a flat edge. So we go under S sharp and turn off the don't recalculate behavior. It fixes that. And so now every time I run S sharp, it will be more of a resharp instead of its native behavior. So I'll use a knife tool, C and Z, to constrain it and cut all the way through. And we'll just bevel that. And if we run S sharpen, it'll just get things straightened up. So in a nutshell, that is what you can expect with these sharpener operators. Now I'll bring out just a default plane, and we'll subdivide a couple of times. Just to go over to mesh tools, circle setup will turn every vert into a circle. Verts that are on the edge don't behave so well, so you'll see me always do it on the inside. And also encircle is the same thing, however it just does it to every other circle. So let's flip it in. Let's look at some of the other ones. Face grate setup is one of my favorites. This one will basically turn every face into a grate, allowing you to do things like this real quick. Run C sharpen, and then we could just use the viewport bevel adjustment to adjust the bevel, getting us a much nicer shape. In fact, if we just clear the sharps and just S sharpen, you can see how flat, how kind of bland everything looks compared to something like that where every other edge is just maintained. So the goal is definitely to speed up your workflow, not really introducing anything new, just really minimizing on the amount of hotkeys it would have taken me to perform this operation. In fact, if we went back, all I'd have to do is press Alt P, Alt J, double tap I, and that's it. But there's times where I just don't want to do that. So the next thing is the A-Twist 360 operator has seen some enhancements to make it funner to work with. So here I'll just create a shape. We'll delete these sides, always working from the front with this thing. And we'll go under Mesh Tools, turn on A-Twist 360, and bring up the F6 options. You can now choose how many times it's going to array and twist around. And by choosing destructive instead of this default non-destructive behavior, it actually applies it all, removes doubles, and thus allows you to put edge flows in and stuff like that. But if you want to tweak it after the fact, then the first option is for you. So we can go here S Sharpen. Looks alright, but not as good as C Sharpen does. In fact, C Sharpen is probably my favorite tool. We can take this and, why not? Pound, frame times 0.05, enter, and now it's rotating, so onto layer 3. We'll bring out another cube and look at what other options we have here. Now T Sharpen is an operator for adding thickness. So I use this in cases where I'm dealing with something flat and I want to go into 3D. It'll just make it thicker and also put a nice little bevel on the edges of the shape. In fact, it's supposed to actually calculate the sharps and do it. However, this one's actually operating off of the angle. So it doesn't even require the S Sharpen because this thing is not working off of the weight. Now, if you're working off of the weight, then we'll go ahead and remove that and go with C Sharpen. And now you can see that it's actually, behaving the way that normally I would want it to behave. So that is those in a nutshell. Now, other features that have been added is whenever I'm working and I have a bunch of invisible bull tools, sometimes I'll go into Quiet GUI just to remove all the stuff that isn't there. It'll just clear out the UI, turn off the grid, and just give me a cleaner workspace. And for this next one, I'll let's see, go back into normal GUI, choose floor, my outliner. There we go. Sorry about that, my floor was hidden. And we'll just scale that up, delete that, bring in a sun. So by default, whenever I render, it does something similar to this. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20 samples. So, instead of going through and setting up my render settings as I always do, there's now an option for render set 1, which will just give you basically the render settings that I usually use in my tutorials to just get a nice sampling amount and something quick. Quick is in, like, I could probably go get something to drink, come back, it'll be done, or just make it look better than it did previously. So there's really not a whole lot to it. It may work for you, it may not, but since I have a GPU in my computer that's fairly quick at rendering with cycles, it just works out well for me. So let's go ahead and we'll put a material on this, make it shared. And here we go. I'll just increase the rough reflex and just let that render for a moment. So hopefully with this you have a little bit better of an idea of what to expect with hard ops, as well as how to use it. Now, for people that pick it up, there's also an expanded instruction manual that goes into detail about basically what's there. Another thing I always do is I'll take an edge, bevel it, just mark it as sharp, maybe unsharp that one, just put some nice little lips in it. Always helps it out. I'll go here on the side, CZ. There we go. Mark it as sharp, mirror it to the other side, and there we go. So when it comes to mirroring, you can always go into edit mode and choose symmetrize, which will make the other side exactly the same. However, I also created a object mode version called X-Slap, which will just slap this side onto this side. No real specific thing there, it's just something I do all the time. In fact, if you the more of my videos you watch, the more I think you understand what these tools are, because it is me trying to basically automate my process, but not foolproof it. So you definitely have to have some sort of understanding of the tools in order to get the most out of it, because if you're beveling things that aren't supposed to be bevel, then you're definitely going to get undesired results, especially because I uncheck clamp overlap and usually loop slide as well, which can allow you to bevel things out of control instead of clamping it to a known limit. Let's see, what else? So normal GUI, red mode, which is, just how I sculpt. So whenever I go into sculpt mode, sometimes I'll just, sculpt and just look at forms and shapes and surfaces, just something plainer. And then quiet mode, which is just everything gone. My goal is to eventually be able to work like this without anything on the screen at all. So you'll be seeing, more of that as it goes on. I will Alt E, push this face, and use S Sharpen to update it. In fact, I can even take this, turn on vert merging, just slide it all the way over, and now we have some nice little grooves in the side here. Now, as far as the bull tool goes, it's definitely something that I feel everyone should know about by now, so I won't go in too much depth on what it is and how to use it. If you just discovered my channel, you got a lot to catch up on, 400 videos worth to be exact. Feel free to downvote them like these other fuckers are, but we'll just create a quick shape here. And you see that I'm kind of dealing with it a bit haphazardly, because when I run my sharpener, it'll allow me some flexibility, and sometimes having nothing to scrutinize on the edges will work out better, like so. And here, we don't want edges too close to each other. That will also mess up your bevel. So we'll bring this over, and we'll just add a handle to this box. Numpad 9 will put your view on the opposite of what it was. This is something I think that was newly added to Blender. I personally find it to be awesome. So we'll mirror it across and select it, Control plus. And notice what happens whenever I run C#. Oh, let me go back a phase. And for this, I'll need to come out into the normal GUI, remove the bevel modifier. There you saw an example of what happens whenever you bevel a bevel. Probably not the best idea. So now, C# on the right piece. And you see that gives it a fairly nice integration with the other mesh. So now I'll bring in a cylinder to show you all that one more time. There we go. So now I can take this, join it, and C# to give it a nice little integration. And then you see that the handle on the other side isn't complete. So under Mesh Tools, X Slap will just slap that over on the other side. And we look at the quiet GUI, and we got a nice little toolbox going on here. So in short, hopefully that is a adequate explanation on it. Now, frame in is basically setting your frame range. You can set your start frame and end frame, similar to what was offered in the Amaranth toolset. However, that add-on stopped working for me, so now I created an additional one. Now, bbox off, show wire, is for instances in which you would want to reuse bool tools. Like for example, this is my handle. Can't tell what it is anymore because the bool tool turns it to a bounding box. But if you choose bbox off, show wire, it will at least turn it to wireframe so you can see it again to reapply it. But you also have the option to uncheck and check unrenderable, which will turn an object into wire but also make it never show up in the render. So it is a pretty handy option, if I say so myself. So I'll scale this down, and we'll select that one and delete all the rest. Mirror it across the Y, Control plus, C#, and we'll just hide that. So as you can see, I was able to put this together, short work, not a whole lot of keystrokes needing to be done here. So, the click reducer coming this fall has come. So for everyone who picked it up, I definitely thank you and hope that it was definitely worth your investment, and hope to further improve upon this to make it even better for your usage on hard surface modeling. And for those who haven't, well, you can always just tap into edit mode, go under select, where's it at? Select sharp edges, go under its F6 options and choose the angle in which you want to choose sharps, and then set your bevel weight through your Control E menu, and as well as mark it as sharp. However, I find that to be a lot of work. So in the end, this is it. So I hope that this was able to at least update you to the best of my ability on the new features, as well as get you acquainted with the tool. So with that, happy blending, and I'll see you guys next time.